Hey everybody, here I am, and it's Saturday night, so it's time to churn this one out. I'm not feeling too well this weekend. I'm feeling under the weather. And you know that statement, it applies to my current health, but it also applies to this game tomorrow. Because there's not a lot for us to feel good about right now. Just to run down the litany, we're coming off the short week. We played on Monday night. We we have an early start, 10 a.m. on the road, which has always been bad news for this team. And we're going on the road to play a really good Cincinnati Bengals team. That's a team with a big play offense that has a few good weapons, a good offensive line, a good defensive line, good players, and the capability to play very well everywhere on that team. They have talent all over the place. This is a tricky game going in. And on our side, everybody knows about the offensive line problems. If you've watched coverage of football or browsed the internet with regards to football recently, everybody's talking about it. The verdict is out, the word is out on this team and their offensive line problems. And we're looking at some real injury problems. I mean, we got injuries. Oh my God, have we got injuries this week? Mostly at the running back and cornerback. Marshawn Lynch is out, so we're going to be going with Thomas Rawls, the undrafted rookie free agent, who's looked pretty good. Rod Smith, the undrafted, I believe, a rookie. Or he's young anyway, and he's never played in the NFL before. Rod Smith, who we just called up from the practice squad. Hopefully, Fred Jackson, and please let Fred Jackson be able to play in this game because we're going to need his ability to catch passes and block out of the backfield in a game like this. And possibly some Derek Coleman. So we are thin at running back in a game where offense is going to be hard enough to come by for us as it is. And cornerback. That the nickel cornerback position this year has just been cursed. I mean, Thurl Simon's gone on injured reserve, which it sucks, but it was the right thing to do. He's got some health issues, and he needs to work those out, and he's going to need some time to do it, so we put him on injured reserve, done for the season. Marcus Burley broke his thumb. He'll be back in less than a month, I think. He'll be back by November, which is good, but Burley was playing really well, so he'll be missed. Ty Smith, who's a rookie and is very, very raw, and I didn't really want to see him play meaningful snaps anyway, but he's out. He's hurt. And of course, Jeremy Lane, he's not back yet, and who knows if he will be back. So that nickel cornerback position has just been slammed repeatedly over the past, I guess you would say, 10 months, going back to the Super Bowl, where Jeremy Lane broke every bone in his freaking body. But, yeah, we're down to three healthy cornerbacks this weekend. Obviously, they're all the two outside guys are solid, but we've got Deshaun Sneed starting at nickel corner for us, and he's arguably better as a safety than a cornerback. I mean, he's pretty good at both. He's capable. He's a good utility defensive back, but realistically, he's not somebody you want out there on most of your snaps, and that's what he's going to have to do this weekend. So there's real trouble. There's real trouble for this team right now this week. I think by next week things will be a lot better, and we'll have a much happier outlook on our injury situation. But right now, it's tough, and I'm just gonna say it. This is probably the least optimistic I felt about a game since 2011. Probably that game in 2011 where the 49ers came into Quest Field and they beat us in that game by I think just 2 points or 3 points or something. But that was before Russell Wilson got here. That was before Bobby Wagner. That was, Sherman hadn't even completed a full season yet starting. That was Sherman's rookie season. So in this era of Seahawks football, this is the least optimistic I've been about a game. I mean, I thought we were going to lose games before, but this is the first time in a while where I've looked at a game and I've said this could get out of hand. And I think that's a possibility. So let's start with the bad stuff first. Our offense. Okay, I'll say this. I think the offensive line is going to play a lot better tomorrow. Just because, I mean, we in Seattle have been talking about this whole season about how this offensive line isn't playing good enough. The fans, the media, they've been talking about it. And now after Monday night, whole world saw it. Whole world is talking about how this offensive line sucks. This offensive line is holding this team back. The whole world got to watch. All the other teams in the league got to see how bad this offensive line is playing. The fans, the media, everybody's talking about it now if they weren't before. And I think that, just as human beings with pride, I think for these guys, especially a guy like Justin Britt who got slammed after his performance on Monday night, and a guy like Russell Okung who's playing terrible, even though we know he's got enough talent to play, solid left tackle. I think the pride just kicks in, and eventually you're just like, just because you're sick of people, insulting you all the time, you come out and play better just because of that. So I do think they'll be better, and also because you can't be worse than you were on Monday night. But at the same time, they could be a lot better tomorrow than they were on Monday, and they could still get their ass beat because this is the really terrifying part of this game. Cincinnati's bringing in, Geno Atkins and Carlos Dunlap, two really good defensive linemen who know how to get after the passer, get after the quarterback. They've done it this year. I think they combined they have like 6 sacks. And those guys, it's not enough for us to just play a lot better. In order for us to contain those guys, we'd have to make a quantum leap forward in our offensive line play. I mean, if the game against Detroit showed us anything, it's that it barely even matters who we're playing. Our offensive line can't hold up. So now you give us a game against, a good defensive line, a good pass rush. So that's terrifying for, especially when you consider that this team doesn't have their starting running back, might not have their backup running back, and might be leaning on some rookies to do the running for us. And if you think about rookies trying to do pass protection out of the backfield, it's not good. But other than that, like I said, everything, I mean, right now, as Seahawks fans, it's very binary. The whole team is good except for the offensive line. If the offensive line gets better, we can win the Super Bowl. If it doesn't, then this whole season's going to become a big guillotine where we're just waiting for somebody to come in and chop our heads off. But that's really all I need to talk about because I think our receivers can beat their defensive backs, although they have a good secondary in Cincinnati. I think Jimmy Graham can get his against this team if the offensive line holds up. So that's really all it is, but right now it's tough to have real faith in those guys. So that's the bad stuff. I don't really think our offense is going to do very much. I mean, we needed Lynch for this game. We needed Marshawn Lynch bad, and he's not there, so I'm not counting on much from the offense. Defensively, the Bengals have a great offense this year. They're killing it. And this is not the kind of game where you want your cornerback depth to be so thin. I think it's possible we bring somebody up or we bring somebody in just so we have a fourth cornerback on the roster next week. But this week it looks like we're going with the three guys. And the good news is that the Bengals only really use three wide receivers with any real degree of significance. Obviously A.J. Green, and then you have Marvin Jones and Mohamed Sanu, who are two pretty good football players who can get the job done at number 2 and number 3. And neither of those guys are really short, quick, and shifty, super quick wide receivers. They're bigger targets. So a guy like Deshaun Sneed, who's not the quickest guy in the world, that's not a bad matchup for him. Getting stuck with Mohamed Sanu or Marvin Jones. I'd be interested to see if Richard Sherman is going to follow A.J. Green around the field because Richard Sherman has followed big-time wide receivers around the field before. Usually he doesn't. It does happen. And I wouldn't mind seeing it this week simply because A.J. Green is just head and shoulders better than every other receiver on the Bengals roster. Other than that, the Bengals have a phenomenal offensive line. They've given up 2 sacks this season, one of the few good offensive lines in football. In order for us to win this game, we need a Herculean effort from this defensive line to get quarterback pressure. We need Michael Bennett, Cliff Averill. They played phenomenal football so far this season. We need them to play probably their best game of the year. Um, Tyler Eifert is one of their best receivers so far this season. Tight end. Tight ends can hurt us. So that's another thing we need to watch. The linebackers and safeties need to be on their game. And Giovanni Bernard has had a phenomenal start to the season as well, catching the ball out of the backfield and running the ball. So this is just a team that does everything well. But it is strength on strength. The Bengals love to get big plays. They are not an offense that goes down the field 6 yards, 6 yards, 6 yards, 6 yards. They like to hit you over the top, mainly with A.J. Green, and they like to get yards in big chunks. We are a defense that is phenomenal at stopping that. I don't know why I keep using the word phenomenal. It's a fun word. But we have a defense that's really good at stopping those big plays, so strength on strength there. So far this season, we have been fantastic at stopping outside wide receivers. The Bengals do most of their work throwing to their outside wide receivers. Obviously, A.J. Green and then Marvin Jones or Mohamed Sanu, depending on who lines up on the outside. That's been their favorite place to go so far this season, so strength on strength. Sherman and Williams versus A.J. Green and Marvin Jones. So while the Bengals have a great offense so far this season, the matchup is not terrible for us. I think our matchup is actually pretty good. For us to win this game, we need a incredible effort from this defense. We might need the defense to score some points. We need them to make plays. I mean, last 2 weeks, the defense has been forcing punt after punt after punt after punt. That's great. I think tomorrow we need more. Tomorrow we might need a defensive touchdown. We need sacks. We need turnovers. We need to make plays. We can't just sit back and wait for the offense to make plays, because I don't think that's going to be there tomorrow. Tomorrow, we might need the defense to score a touchdown. We might need special teams to score a touchdown. It's going to be one of those days where if we win, it will be because the defense is giving phenomenal A-plus effort. There's that word again. And it just ends up being enough to squeak out a low-scoring game. So I don't really know what to expect tomorrow, but this team consistently proves themselves to be fighters. Whenever things get rough, whenever things look bad for them, they fight and they fight, and they don't always win, but they make it a close, entertaining game. And if I know this team, I know that they should be giving us, that they will have a chance to win at the end. Maybe they won't win, but they consistently manage to give themselves a chance to win at the end of the game. And hopefully that's what we see tomorrow. But to expect a win in this situation, it's just a little too much. So I'll sit down in front of the game tomorrow. I hope we do good. If we win, however we get the win, I'll be up on my high horse again, feeling great about this team. If we don't get the win, then probably got to win the next 3. And I think we can do that, but, well, let's just focus on this one for now. So, see you guys tomorrow after the game. I'll make a video, whatever happens, and see where we stand at that point. So, see you guys later.